Hi, everyone, and welcome to Home for the Holidays with Pets. Today's community class is a lecture style presentation about how you and your pets can best make it through this holiday season. So thank you all for joining us. First, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Robyn, and I'm a member of the training team here at the shelter. I have a degree in zoology and about 4 years of professional training experience. The other person pictured here is my supervisor, Donna. And all of these icons you see at the bottom of the page are all different organizations that we're affiliated with as a team. I'm really, really lucky to be a part of this team that's committed to continuing education and the welfare of animals. So our community is a life-saving community, which means that animals that come to us at the Santa Fe Animal Shelter are given the best chance that they can to be adopted. We're really only able to be that way because of the support of our community, especially during these difficult times. So if you volunteer, donate, foster, or adopt, you make this happen. So thank you for that. And also a huge thank you to Purina for making our community classes possible through their generous financial support. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So first, just why are we talking about the holidays, right? This is a really busy time of year for us. Our schedules are changing, the environment is changing, and we're rearranging furniture and making travel plans. We're putting up decorations. All of these things can be really strange for our pets and difficult for us, right, as people. So we really want to help set everyone on the right track for the holidays with their pets and take a few more stressors off your plate. So speaking of stress, despite the joys of this winter season, right, there's a lot that can happen that really makes us just wish that we hibernated through the winter. So this is something to think about both for your sake and for the sake of your pets. Managing stress around the holidays and really at any time of the year is all about meeting the basic needs of you and your animal. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about what stress in animals looks like. These animals pictured here in the clip art are very obviously stressed, right? The dog's pulling against the leash, the cat's tail is all bushy and their back is arched. But stress can be a little bit more subtle than that as well. It can look like a change in the typical demeanor of your animal. So, a usually calm cat racing around the house, or a dog who's usually really energetic is more subdued. That can be a sign of stress. They might also become more reactive to things in their environment, which just means they might, jump at unexpected movements or noises, or really be on hyper alert, right? They might also experience a change in their eating habits, right? Do they seem ravenous, right? Are they just eating everything in sight, or are they not eating as much as usual? And also sleeping habits. So, are they sleeping a lot longer or not as much? Those could all be signs of stress. So, what do we do to manage that stress in our animals? Um, Really, we want to focus, like I said, on the basic needs, right? So, first, nutrition, right? We really want to make sure that our animals are getting consistent, high quality food in the right portions, right? That can make a huge difference for your pet. Um, so, we really want to make sure that we're keeping things steady for them. And during the holidays, avoiding the temptation to just give them a little bit of everything that we might be cooking, right? That can throw off their digestive system and lead to accidents. And so we really don't want that for them. It's really important as much as possible that they're sticking to their usual routine. All right, quality sleep. When there are lots of people around and excitement and stress, your pets might not be getting as much sleep as they usually do. So it's really important that we try to facilitate that for them by giving them space and a quiet time to sleep throughout the day. It's really important to be incorporating breaks and alone time so that your pet can really get enough sleep. Exercise. So for dogs, if it's possible, stick to your usual routine of walks and play. I know that it's getting colder out. Right now it's snowing, so it can be a lot less fun for us to go on walks. But it's really important that we try to get our dogs out and exercising as much as possible. If you know it isn't going to be possible, you can try maybe hiring a dog walker or looking into taking your dog to a doggy daycare, maybe asking a friend who has a big backyard to just let you take the dog there and have them run around. For cats, it's really important to, again, try to stick to that usual routine of play and games of chase, whatever interactions you're usually having with your cats. They need exercise just as much as dogs do. And it can really help them feel calmer, especially in new or unusual situations, right? If you have people over or you're a little bit more stressed than usual or doing more activities, sticking to that routine, playing with them, and keeping up um, that way of interacting with them can keep them very, very calm. If you know that you can't if you won't have the time to play with them like that, ask a familiar person over to play with them for a little bit, or look into purchasing some automated toys that they can interact with on their own while you can't. And then our last thing here is enrichment. And enrichment is really anything that gets your animal engaging in the natural behaviors of their species. It's exercise for your pet's mind, right? So giving them things to do that are inherently satisfying to them, like solving puzzles and sniffing out new and interesting scents. For dogs, chewing on things. For cats, hunting, right? All of those things will create a sense of satisfaction in your pets, which leads to a less stressed pet. So, again, managing stress in our pets during the holidays is really all about making sure that these basic needs are being met and, as much as possible, sticking to those typical routines. All right, so what does stress look like in humans? We've all become really familiar with stress this year, but some telltale signs that we're getting stressed might include snapping at our loved ones, right? Getting tension headaches or stiff shoulders. Your appetite might change, right? You're eating less or more than usual, feeling overwhelmed and exhausted all of the time, right? Those are all really good indicators that you're pretty stressed out and you need to work on calming down a little bit. Our animals can and do pick up on the stress that we're feeling, and they might act out accordingly. So it's really important, both for us and for our animals, that we kind of monitor and manage our stress levels during the holidays. So unsurprisingly, our list looks quite similar to the animals list, right? Nutrition. The most important thing I think here, and the reason why I have the little gingerbread man on this slide, is because it's really important to be gentle on yourself and not judge yourself for what you do or don't eat during holiday times, right? Sugary treats are delicious; they're made to be eaten, and indulging in them is not a bad thing. So just kind of preemptively forgive yourself for that, right? It's a good time of year. We want to enjoy the foods that we have, and they help us feel warm inside. So, take what you can get here. The only thing I do want to say about that is don't forget to keep up the other parts of your nutrition, right? Don't exclusively eat gingerbread men. Make sure that you're keeping up your protein intake for energy and getting some good healthy carbs in there too. Maybe the occasional vegetable, right? Just to help keep you feeling satisfied and healthy for longer. Quality sleep. Sleep is usually our first sacrifice around this time of year, but lack of sleep really does lead to higher stress levels. It changes the physiology of the brain. So try to keep as consistent and typical a schedule as you can to help you through the holidays. And don't be afraid to go to bed early, right? It gets really, really dark at like 5:30 nowadays. So really, if you're feeling tired, give yourself permission to just go to sleep if you can. Exercise. This, like I said before, can be really hard to want to do in the wintertime. But exercise doesn't mean, going to the gym and lifting weights or going for 5 mile runs, right? It can be as simple as running around the backyard, playing tag with your kids, lifting heavy suitcases out of cars, slogging uphill through the snow for another sled down, right? All of these things count as exercise. Any sort of movement is good for you. And you can reward yourself for that by curling up under a blanket on the couch when you're finished. All right, self care. This is the human version of enrichment, right? And I think the most important thing during the holidays is time. It's really difficult to get time alone during the holidays, especially if you have kids, especially if you have pets, especially if you have visitors, right? But it's really important that you make space for yourself, even if it's just for 5 minutes, right? Take time to do something that you find fun or relaxing, right? Read a book, watch a favorite TV show, write in a journal, take a few deep breaths through your nose, right? If all you get out of that 5 minutes is three deep breaths, that's still worthwhile. And then another part of self care would be to lean on supportive friends and family, neighbors. If you're needing a break from your dog or your dad or your chaotic kitchen, ask around, right? And see if anyone would mind taking the dog for an hour or two or letting you crash in their silent guest bedroom for a while, right? And you can offer them help in exchange. And this sets up a really nice system that can even last beyond the holidays. So, a big part of what we are discussing in today's presentation is management strategies or preventing problem behaviors from occurring by changing up the environment. So, we're worried a lot less about the training side of things during the holidays because there usually isn't that much time to train up the skills that our pets might need for these types of situations. So, we really want to focus on giving you good, solid management strategies to get through the holidays in one piece. Our next topic is on traveling, right? And how to make that easier on you and your animals. So, traveling with your pet is always challenging, but it's even more difficult this year, right? There's a lot of COVID related rules and regulations that it's really important that you check on, right? In hotels or Airbnbs or any other travel destinations that you might be visiting. And these also change state by state. So, definitely if you're traveling across state lines, double checking on the rules everywhere that you go. Traveling by airplane, right? Airlines all have their own regulations. So definitely double check by looking for the latest up to date information on their websites. Um, Sometimes they only allow a specific number of animals to travel per person or at a time. Sometimes they might require a specific type of crate, right? So just being really aware of those things before you travel. And then traveling by car is a little bit different by airplane. You're really looking for ways to help your pet last through a long drive, right? So, one really good approach is to try tiring out your pet before you start the long car ride, right? If they're sleeping through the drive, it's going to make things a lot easier on everybody. So, playing a really good game of fetch with your dog, playing with the wand toy with your cat, those can be really helpful. If you are on a very long car ride, taking frequent breaks for taking your dog for a walk or going to the bathroom, or just in general, kind of changing up the monotony of a car ride can be helpful. It's also really important to have all of their food and water prepared ahead of time, and to keep some in the car with you, just in case, heaven forbid your car breaks down, right? And you don't have access to enough food. So really make sure that you have that with you. And for cats in particular, keeping your cat in a carrier for the drive is usually a good idea, safety wise. But still take breaks to let them out in the car, and have them move around so that they're not stuck in that small space. Also, when you're traveling with your pet, really making sure that you have any sort of emergency vet information for your place of destination, just in case. and making sure that you know what type of space you're going to be staying in so that you can prepare and bring something familiar to your pet, like a bed or a crate or toys, right? And keeping that routine as similar as possible. So, what about traveling without your pet? So, usually we have a couple of options, either boarding or hiring a pet sitter. And so for boarding your pets, the benefits of that would be they're insured, right? There's professional oversight, making sure that everything is happening on time. No stranger is staying in your house. That's definitely something to think about, especially with COVID going on. And sometimes, if you have a dog, they'll include a dog playtime or a doggy daycare situation. On the other hand, there are some challenges with those types of environments, right? It's quite stressful for a lot of animals to be moved into a new place that they're unfamiliar with lots of other animals. And they might have some more time left unattended or on their own in those situations, right? Work hours end at maybe 6 or 7, and then they don't start again until 6 or 7 in the morning. So there's that to consider as well. When you're looking for places to board your pets, really making sure that you're asking a lot of questions, right? What is the kennel size? How long do they spend in their kennels every day? Do people ever interact with them outside of just feeding times? Do they get walks? Do your cats get any sort of playtime or any sort of interaction? Are the cats kept away from dogs so that they can't hear them barking so that they're less stressed? These are all really important questions to be asking. As far as a pet sitter goes, some of the benefits to that would be your pets get to stay in a familiar environment. And that usually means that they can stick to their routine a little bit easier. And they typically will have longer hours of supervision and more time for interaction from a pet sitter. Of course, some of the challenges involve, allowing someone into your home, like I mentioned before. The environment is a little bit less controlled, right? And then it's actually quite difficult sometimes to find available sitters during the holidays. They book up very quickly. So it might be worth your while to start that search early. And then, of course, when you are looking for a sitter, it's really, really important that you ask questions of them, right? For references, potentially checking to see if they're licensed and insured, asking them how long they usually leave animals unattended, if they're willing to take your dogs for walks, if they're willing to spend time playing with your cats. All of those things are going to be very important. So, in summary, there are benefits and challenges to both situations, but the common thread that I really want to emphasize is to remember to ask questions of anyone you might leave your pet with, even seemingly prestigious organizations or sitters with good reviews, just to make sure you know what's going to happen there. All right, so if you're staying home and maybe having people come to visit you, you're bringing new people and maybe other animals into your pet space, and that can be a really big change for your pet. So there's a few things that you can do to make sure that this is a minimally stressful situation for you and your guests and your pets. So the first thing is communication, right? If your pet has particular needs or is uncomfortable with certain things, communicate that to your visitors before they arrive. Right? You're your pet's advocate. So if your cat is shy around strangers, you can tell your guests not to approach or touch the cat. If your dog gets mouthy and jumpy, tell your visitors not to intentionally rile them up and get them into that excited place. You can also communicate the specifics of your pet's routine that you really don't want to be changed, right? So, feeding times or walk times, anything like that. Just communicate that to your guests right away so that they know that you're going to be unavailable at those certain times. That being said, of course, remember what we talked about first, right? That the holidays are really stressful for humans and animals. So if your, usual hour-long morning hike falls by the wayside, that's okay, and your dog will forgive you, and you can start that up again when you're able to. All right, so preparing the environment for your pets so that your cat feels safe and your dog doesn't have the opportunity to get mouthy, right? Like we mentioned before, management and prevention are key during the holidays. So really focusing here on that. So reorganizing the house to sort of make things easier on you and your pets. Right. If your pet doesn't like new people, setting them up maybe in a back room where they don't have to interact with them if they don't want to. If you have a pet that you know is going to be jumping up on the counters, setting up an X pen around the kitchen before you start cooking, or arranging to have someone playing with them while the turkey's in the oven, right? Those are all ways to set it up so that your pet doesn't get a chance to jump up on the counters. And another thing, if you have anything that you don't want pets or other people getting into when they come, temporarily, box it up, set it in a closet while you have visitors. Especially if strange animals are visiting, you never know what they're going to try to put their mouths on. So anything precious that you have out on surfaces, it's a good idea to maybe just put that away temporarily. And then scheduling is really important. And that's both for human and animals, right? Um, while you are planning out your holiday activities, really make sure to include what the dog needs to be doing in your plans, right? What the cat needs to be doing. If you know that you're going to be eating a nice meal together and you don't want any interruptions, plan to play a really nice, high energy, tiring game with your pet before mealtime so that they're tired and sleeping while you're trying to eat. If you have animals coming to visit, make sure that you set up the house and the schedule to make sure that they're always going to be supervised in all of their interactions. If your pet isn't friendly with new animals, you can use sort of a crate and rotate system. And that just means avoiding having your pet in the same area as another, but planning out when each animal can be allowed out in the communal spaces where all the people are, just so that you can set up a nice fair balance there for the pets. You can also fall back on our previous point, right, of communication. And maybe, talk to your relative and say it might be a better idea if you find a pet friendly hotel since my cat really doesn't like other animals, right? And really setting those boundaries for yourself and for your animals so that you know that you're going to have a more stress free situation when you have visitors coming. All right, creating a safe space for your pet. It's really important that you make sure that your pet has a place that's separate from people to retreat to if they need it. Crates, hide boxes for cats, even a separate room, right? And if your pet is getting excited or upset by noises, you can try things like a white noise machine or calming soundtracks to play in their safe space to keep them feeling content and unbothered by everything going on outside that space. Always make sure that this area is accessible to your pet, right? That you don't necessarily have to be there to open a door for them or unlock the crate or anything like that. Just making sure that they can go in and go out as they please. And then on the other side of that, communicating with your guests that they should not bother the animal if they're in the safe space. That's especially important for kids, right? Kids like to stick their faces up close to our animals and invade their space. So make it very clear that if your cat is in their hide box, the kids should not approach. If your dog is in the crate, the same goes there. Before people arrive, you can encourage your pets to spend time in that safe space and set that up for them by giving them tasty, long lasting treats like maybe stuffed Kongs and bully sticks for dogs, or catnip and food puzzles for cats, or playing really fun games in that area with them. And make sure that there is plenty of enrichment available to your pet to keep them engaged when they're separated, and making sure that you're including things like a water bowl or a bed, a litter box for cats so that they have everything that they need access to there. If you have animal visitors, each animal should have a separate space they can go to, even if they're friendly with other pets, right? It will give them time to decompress if they need it, and keep them apart if you guys can't supervise. Okay, so to recap, when you have guests coming to your house, Make your life easier by setting up the environment with things like crates for a safe space, X pens and baby gates to block off counters or rooms, and other visual or auditory barriers like a closed door or a white noise machine. And then on the other side of this, there's enrichment, right? This is really, really important to making your pet's experience, and therefore also your experience around the holiday guests, a pleasant one, right? Giving your pets fun, mentally stimulating things to do is going to be really, really important. For cats, things like window perches where they can see outside or automated toys that they can play with can go a long way in making them feel better. For dogs, appropriate safe chews and food puzzles can engage them for hours at a time. So, really using those types of enrichment both to your advantage and to help your dog de stress in those situations. All right, so next we're going to talk about some of the hazards of the holiday season. And we're going to start that off by talking about toxic holiday plants. No one wants a trip to the emergency vet as part of their holidays. So, to keep our pets healthy and safe, keep away from all of these holiday plants. You'll notice that most of these listed up here are all the ones that we like to use around the holidays. So, really making sure that you're setting it up so that if you do have these plants in your house, they're completely out of reach and blocked off from your pets, or maybe just putting them outside where your pets can't get to them. I've also included the Animal Poison Control Center number here. That's a good thing to have just in case. You can give them a call. And of course, knowing your local emergency veterinary clinic and checking their hours to make sure that they're open. Right now, we have kind of two confounding factors of the holidays and COVID, right? So, really double checking that you're going to have access to that emergency vet. All right, lots of holiday decor involves conifers, right? There's a lot of garlands and wreaths and pine cone decorations that are out during these winter months. Pine trees, if eaten, are toxic to the liver of cats, right? So using fir or spruce instead might be a better option there. But the oils from those needles can also be sort of mildly irritating to their mouths and cause stomach upset if they're ingested. So really look out for that and try to keep your animals from engaging with any of these sort of conifer decorations by blocking them off or supervising them. All right, so decorations and presents, right? The environment is changing a lot around the holidays. We've got all kinds of different decorations that are up, and that's both indoors and outdoors, right? So I really love this picture here of the cat stuck in the Christmas tree. That's definitely, a risk. And so it's really important that you are securing any decorations that are large enough to fall down, because you can definitely see that tree is sort of tipping over as the cat's in it there. Um, and then, keeping ornaments and decorations up out of reach of animals so that they can't chew on them, avoiding fragile or glass ornaments, right? So that even if they do get a hold of them, they're not going to hurt themselves. And then avoiding tinsel. Tinsel can get caught in your dog's tail and then dragged all over the house, which is just annoying. Or, your cat might try to actually eat it, which can be more than annoying. That could be bad for them. So, really trying to keep them away from the tree as much as possible. You might try setting up an X pen or other ways of deterring them from accessing it. And then avoiding any edible or scented decorations, right? Your pet is more likely to want to eat something that smells like cinnamon and food. And then, as far as gifts go, be really careful where you put them so that your animals don't get to them before you have a chance to open them. But then once you have opened your presents, you can use the boxes for enrichment for your pets, right? Your cat might like to sit in it, or your dog might like to tear it apart. And ribbons and bows, your cat might enjoy playing with those afterwards. And then something to consider about outdoor decorations, right? There's a lot of strange things like inflatable snowmen and moving deer, right? Be aware that that could be something that you encounter on a walk with your dog. And if your dog seems nervous, get distance from those strange moving objects, right? Give them their space, or maybe walk when they aren't inflated or in better light where your dog can see kind of what's going on. All of those things can help them feel a bit calmer and keep your decorations safe as well. All right, holiday lights. This is one of, I think, the greatest parts of the winter season, right? There's all kinds of lights everywhere. But candles and farolitos, canaras and menorahs, those are all fire hazards. So never leaving lit candles unattended around animals. And if your animal is in the same room as lit candles, really watching them very closely to make sure that they don't interact with those in a way that's unsafe for them. And then for electric lights, they might have wires, battery packs, all of those sorts of things. And if your pets chew on them, that could cause a shock, and we really want to avoid that. So covering with cord covers or taping them up away on the wall or floor so your animals can't access them. All right, and here's a list of all the things your pets shouldn't be eating. And unfortunately, this is all like some of the greatest stuff about the holidays, right? Things like turkey skins, I definitely want to point that one out. It seems like such an innocuous thing that, of course, our dogs love, but it does definitely cause stomach upset and diarrhea a lot of the time. So avoiding that. Cooked bones can potentially splinter in our dogs' mouths, right? And so it's good idea not to give them those cooked bones. And of course, no sweets or alcohols, right? All of these things can cause stomach upset or could potentially even lead to more serious medical problems. So just avoiding these things altogether. And part of this, of course, is cleaning up after yourself when you've gone through a cooking spree in the kitchen, right? Checking the floors, making sure that there's nothing down there that your pets are going to get into after you remove the X pen or let them back into that space. All right, so this whole presentation has focused almost exclusively on management, mostly because now is really not the time to start training, since a lot of these behaviors tend to take a while to teach. However, if you are wanting to get started on training some useful behaviors for future holidays, these are some of the ones I would recommend, right? Greeting politely is going to be really helpful if you have people coming to visit, if your dog doesn't jump up on them, right? Having your cat be calm for handling so that people can touch them or potentially even pick them up without them being upset about it. Asking your dog to settle on a mat, right, so that they can be out of the way while you're doing something else. And crate training, making the crate a really fun, positive space for your dog or your cat, right? Really giving them a strong, safe place and somewhere they're comfortable being. And we want to help you prepare for next year's holiday season, right, by teaching your pets some of the great behaviors that we just discussed. So you can check out our online group training classes. Right now, they're just for dogs, right? So we have our puppy life skills course for puppies under 6 months, and then our essential life skills course for all the other dogs. And then we also have our online behavior library. So if you prefer to do your own reading and train your dog or your cat your own way, you can check out our training library. It has a lot of good information and more resources for you there. And if you need any more help, right, any questions about what sort of management tools you might want to use for your pet, or if you're needing training tips or other advice, we're here to help you. So you can call or email our behavior help desk and we'll get back to you. All right. Well, thank you all so much. And especially thank you to Purina for making this and all other community classes possible. And thank all of you so much for coming to this talk. We really appreciate your support. And if you learned even one thing from this class that you found useful, please consider donating so that we can continue to provide these services free of charge to the community. We really appreciate your time and hope that you got a lot of good information out of this. Thank you all so much for supporting the Santa Fe Animal Shelter.